everybody, Matt Brown. We're going to do some more Chili Peppers. This is Walkabout from One Hot Minute. What I just played is the intro part. Now with our intro part, we've got two guitar tracks. There's a guitar track with a wah and a guitar track played with a talk box. So what I just played is the wah track. And I'll go through this beginning part and break down each of the phrases for you. So we're playing out of, this one's in the key of A minor, the majority of the song. So we're playing out of some minor pentatonic licks for the beginning of our intro. So here's the first phrase, fairly syncopated type deal. Okay, so slowly we get 3, 4. So just E to D, and then G, and then we're doing a half step bend and release, coming down to a low A root note. Now, when the phrase repeats, the rhythm is displaced. So instead of coming in on the 1, we're coming in on the and of 1. So 3, 4, 1. And then coming in 3, 4, like that. And this time around we're resolving to an open D note instead of the A note. So to put the first two phrases together, we have this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Alright, now the third phrase is exactly the same as the first. So again we get 3, 4. Alright. Now for the next thing, we're going to come down here to this position of the pentatonic scale, and we're going to do this. So let's just look at that much before we continue on. So we've got 1. So we've got A, C, D, and then we're going to do another half step bend here, and release, and we're going to slide up to our E note. Then we have a pentatonic run in the next measure. So I'll play what I just played into that pentatonic run. Alright, so that's the run there. So I'll do it real slow. 3 E endo, 4 E endo. Okay, slowly again. 3, 4. And if you catch a little string noise from the second string, it's actually a good thing. See if I can emulate. You know, that kind of thing. It's if you play this phrase ugly, is I guess what I'm getting at. It's gonna only kind of add to the effect of what's going on. So like that type of thing. All right, let's move on. So we've got some double stop bends like that here. So we're doing the D and the G note, and the G note is remaining stationary while we bend our D note up a half step. Like that. So at this point, the next measure, we're heading into B minor pentatonic territory. So I'll play that little lick. So basically we have a trill, and then we're just descending the B minor blues scale. So the scale that we all know and love. So slowly the slick is 3, 4. I'll do it a little bit slower. 1, 2, 3 E endo, 4 E endo. Like that. All right. So then our final lick that we're going to play is, it's the same as the very first phrase we played, but it's just up in octaves. So we get this. So not a whole lot to tell about there. Or actually, sorry, it's the same as your second phrase. So it's the one where the eighth note rest begins the measure. So 3, 4. All right. So then at the end we have this lick that goes like this. So we've got a quick hammer-on and pull-off. Those are sextuplets. And then we're going to bend this E note up, real dramatic step and a half, and let it come back down. It resolves into an E note into the verse. So let's talk about the other guitar, the one that's got the talk box. So for our first three phrases that we play, we're just doubling the first guitar. So we'll like this. Okay, this is where the two guitars start to do something separate. So instead of doing the lick like this, the other guitar just does this. All right, so let's talk about the following lick. We get this. So it's the same type of rhythms that we've been playing with, but we've got this. E to G to A, like that. 3, 4. Alright, then our final phrase is the same as the second phrase that we have in this intro. So, but what we're going to do is, after that D, we're going to play a little C that helps us transition to the verse part like this. And then our verse it's still in the key of A minor. So that's what we have to look at next. So the verse is, it's all, Dave Navarro's improvising this. You know, he's got like a basic idea in mind, and a chord progression in mind, and a basic groove, and then the details are improvised. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to go through note for note and teach you everything that he does, just the gist, because that's all you need. Let's talk about the chords first. This is an A minor 9, or A minor add 9 rather, and we're not playing the root. The bass is covering the root. So we've got C, E, and B. Alright, now our next chord is just a chunk of a D7. So the chord progression is just a 1, it's a 4 dominant, which is extremely common. It's a super common progression, and you could analyze it as A Dorian. Like, for instance, Coffee Shop and others, or not Coffee Shop, but Aeroplane, another song on this record, is played over 1 minor 7 to 4 dominant in G minor. Anyway, so the pattern that he's playing is something like this. You're just kind of keeping it light and funky and grooving with the rhythm section. The whole thing is keeping this like light and kind of airy. So, and he's playing with the wah too, which will help a little bit. But really, the only things that I think are important to add in are like the little melodic ideas. So there, he's just playing a B within the chord to a G. anything from your Dorian mode, melodically, you know, you can throw in, it'll sound good. So something to look out for is that you're not playing too much, but you're playing enough to keep the guitar part interesting underneath the vocal line that you're supporting. So that's really what we need to do for the verse, is just kind of repeat that progression and add some variety and interest. So now we're into a chorus part, so we can talk about that next here in a second. So I'll just play the chorus for you first without a metronome, so you can get a feel for it like that, and then I'm going to throw it on with an eighth note click so you can hear the subdivisions, because it's really syncopated. It goes like this: 3, 4. So that's 3 and I'll maybe count in eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's the whole chorus. Then he does a little slide at the end that, you know, it's kind of a little detail. But so the first note hits on the downbeat of the measure. The second note hits on the of 1, so 1 E and The next note happens on the end of 2. The next note happens on the end of 3. And then the next note happens on the E of 4 E and which is an E flat, and then the note D happens on the downbeat. On a walkabout. So that's the chorus there. I'll put on the metronome, and we'll see how that sounds. So that's your quarter note pulse. Let's listen to that for a second. So that's 92. So let's crank it up to 184, which is our eighth note. Alright, cool. So let's move on. We've got another verse. This is now the second verse of the song, which is the same as the first, basically. I mean, he's improvising, so it's the same general idea. Then we come to another chorus. Now, this chorus is pretty much the same, but we've got a minor pentatonic lick to play as kind of a fill at the end of the chorus here. So let's look at that. So here's the lick that's going on at the end of the chorus. It's just a minor blues thing with a little bit of chromaticism. So I'll play this real slowly. 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and quarter step bend on this double stop. So again, slowly. That's all there is to that. So, you know, you're coming with a grace note, hammer on, and then coming down the minor blues scale. And then this is kind of a cool lick that he does there with some chromaticism. So it's kind of, you kind of want to almost play it in like, you could almost do like a chicken picking thing at the end. So it kind of pop some of this, if you wanted to. It would sound maybe appropriate. I probably wouldn't. Probably no chicken picking. Alright, so then we're to the third verse. Basically the same, first to second, but you know, it's improvised again, so keep that in mind. Then we get to the interlude, which goes like this. simple. We've got, it's a distant key change. So we're going to the key of C sharp. And so we're going to start with the C sharp major chord and just play the lowest 4 strings. Our next chord is in F sharp 7. So we're just playing 9, 8, 9. And then the next chord is B. And then the next chord is E7. So it's the same as the first 2 chords, but just down a full step. So then the rhythm we get is... So it's kind of a funky thing. So just staccato type things on the first 2 chords. And then we get this with B and E. Like that. Then the second measure is the same, except for the first chord we're going to play 2 8th notes like this. So to play the whole thing, there's an overdub track that's going. That type of idea. So it's just a G sharp note. And then 2 muted 16th note strums on our high B and E. Like that, so just to give it some rhythmic effect. Next, we're into the solo. The solo is played over the verse chord progression, so we've already talked about that, so let's just get after the solo. So with the tone of the solo, if you're around my age, you might remember these guitars. They're the Fernandez Zoe. They're like the little, I guess you could say kind of like crescent-shaped little tiny guitars that like just kind of sit on your leg and have the built-in amplifier that sounds really bad, but kind of in a cool way. I remember reading that's what he used to record this solo, so that's how he's getting this really kind of crusty tone. And those guitars, like the amp is battery powered, so you know, he probably let the batteries, if I had to speculate, the batteries were probably a little bit dead too to make it sound even worse. So anyway, I'll just play the solo with kind of a normal tone, and then we'll get after it. So there it is at tempo. Now we'll do it slowly. 3, 4. So there it is. It's A minor pentatonic, and he's doing some chromaticism, like in the first phrase. Like that right there. There's some big bends, like he does a half and a step bend, like, and there's another half step and a half bend right there. Another cool thing to point out is the kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of effect, where really what you're doing there is you're grabbing 2 notes of, or 2 strings at the same time when you bend. Like that. That's the sound you should be getting. So So if maybe we did like the Stevie Ray Vaughan trick instead of what Dave Navarro does, it'd be like, you know, kind of like that's his kind of go-to type thing that he always used to do. So it ends with kind of a big pentatonic run. Something cool else to point out is the way that he embellishes an A minor arpeggio. So if this is our arpeggio, A minor arpeggio, what he does is like that. So what he does is he slides from F to E, and then there's a grace note slide from D to C as fast as you can get it. Like kind of like that. So in context we get, let's see, I'll kind of put it in context. Like that type of deal. Alright, so we've got a few things to talk about with the ending. There's like a little kind of quirky, bendy part that we're going to look at, and then we've got like just the ending. So let's get after those parts. So here's how the kind of quirky part I was talking about goes. And then we're into the... So it's just, you know, he's just kind of like doing the... like a little syncopated rhythm with this F sharp note with some muted kind of pops on the third string. And then, so the D7 there is played kind of like really sparsely. And then what he does is he gets into like what's called popping. So let's talk about that. So popping is just when you're muting notes within your phrase, more or less. So all pentatonic with some chromaticism. So we're going to do this. I'll play it slowly. And then that repeats. So I'll just keep looping this. At the last time, though, he's going to do a lick. So the lick is this. So slowly we get... Again, slowly. And then basically we're into what I'll call the outro section. And so for the first two bars of the outro section, he's kind of alluding to what's going to happen next, like this. 1. And so then what the part that comes next that he's alluding to is this. 3 and a 40 and a... Just played with the wah, and he's keeping it totally open and then gradually closing it halfway through the measure and then opening it back up for the beginning of the next measure and closing it again. So well, it's a little bit slow. So 3, 4. Played 8 times, and then at the end, the very end, we get this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're into free time, and there's like a little lick. Like that. So that does it for all of Walkabout by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Some cool funk things to learn, like popping and like the syncopated scratch type rhythms. Alright, so I'm Matt Brown. Stick around for more lessons. Got more Chili Peppers, more fun stuff. See you around.